So guys, we are at the end of 2024 and I think it's safe to say that this year was filled with amazing games all around. I mean, especially for RPG fans, this was definitely an incredible year, with games like Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Persona 3 Reload, and much more. And while a lot of games had their time to shine this year in 2024, there's also fan favorite games that have not seen the spotlight for quite a while that we're still waiting to hear from. And going into the year of 2025, we have a lot of end of the year developer comments going over what they're doing for their games and what their plan is for 2025. So guys, as of this video, we are close to 2,000 subs to the channel. So if you haven't already, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to keep up to date with anything JRPG related. Now, this information comes from Gematsu, and the first developer comment we'll go over is Yosuke Saito. Some of you may know him as the director for Creative Studio 4 and the producer of the Nier series. His comment reads, 2025 will be a milestone year as it marks the 15th anniversary of the Nier series. So I'd like to do something for it. What should we do? Maybe something with the next game or developments related to that. I've been hearing the fans' expectations. It's a bit tricky though. That said, as I'll likely be doing less direct work as a producer, I'd appreciate it if you could patiently look forward to what's coming. So as a Nier fan myself, and I know a lot of other fans have been waiting so long to hear about a new Nier game for the series. The latest game in the series released on February 23rd, 2017. It's honestly crazy to think that it's been 7 years going on 8 since we've seen anything new from the series. I mean, just earlier last week we got an update on Nier Automata's sales that it reached over 9 million sales globally. And so just as much as Final Fantasy, Nier is one of Square Enix's biggest franchises as of today. And the creator of Nier himself, Yoko Taro, has pretty much been teasing a new project over the years, with fans speculating whether it be a new IP or pretty much a new Nier game. But with the 15th anniversary coming up next year, I think that it is very safe to say that we could be seeing a new installment, maybe even a teaser for a new game in 2025. Now, to be fair, we haven't been without games since Nier Automata, as we've had games like Nier Replicant, which is a remake of the original Nier Gestalt. And I have to say that I actually enjoyed Nier Replicant a lot more than Nier Automata when it came to its narrative. But overall, I think that Nier Replicant was a very solid remake and really something that we kind of needed for the series. It's a game that learns a lot from what Nier Automata did and just implements it into this remake. And while the gameplay formula may not work as well here as it did with Nier Automata, again, I just found the narrative of Replicant a lot more compelling than what you have in Automata. Besides that, we also had the mobile game that was Nier Reincarnation, which technically is the third game in the series confirmed by Yoko Taro. So if we do get another Nier game, that would technically make it Nier 4. A lot of the story in Nier Reincarnation is actually kind of important, so if you haven't played that game, you might want to go and, catch up with that. There's a lot of story connections and things that you'll find in Reincarnation that you'll be like, oh, wait, that actually connects to Replicant and Nier Automata in a way that I didn't realize, which in turn also connect to the Drakengard game, so you do not want to skip out on this game. And so when the next Nier game comes out, that would technically make it Nier 4. I don't know why Square Enix makes it a point to make a lot of their mobile games very important to their stories, but here we are. But I think that this dev comment pretty much confirms that we'll be seeing something relatively new for the Nier series in 2025. Now, the next developer comment comes from Hiroshi Takai, who directed the latest installment in the Final Fantasy franchise, Final Fantasy XVI. It reads, quote, somehow in 2024 I was fully occupied with work on Final Fantasy XVI, but in 2025 I will be working on something different. While I can't share any specific details yet, I'll continue to work hard in 2025. I'm sure this work will lead to something that 4Gamer readers will enjoy. Now, Hiroshi Takai is a very prominent developer within Square Enix and Creative Studio 3. Previously, he's had more of a development supervisory role within Final Fantasy XIV before moving on to direct Final Fantasy XVI. Now, Creative Studio 3 is a very prominent Final Fantasy development studio within Square Enix. So to me, I think that it is very natural to assume that Hiroshi Takai could be working on the next Final Fantasy entry, although this time not as the director. In an interview of October 2023, Yoshi P and Koji Fox did say that they were already working on a new game.
That said, because we currently don't have a lot of time to spend on that, we're working on DLC and also looking forward to, the next game that we're going to plan on.
And even before this, the writer for Final Fantasy XIV's expansions, Natsuko Ishikawa, was moved to a supervisory role instead of the lead writer. I think if you lined up all of the points, I think that it is very likely that Creative Studio 3 is already working on a new Final Fantasy game. Usually when development studios do this for their lead writer, and especially for Creative Studio 3, that means that that writer is already working on a new project. Something similar to this also happened with the lead writer of Heavensward in Final Fantasy XIV. Now this was years before Final Fantasy XVI was ever revealed. Kazutoyo Mayahiro was the lead writer for Heavensward before eventually being revealed to be the lead writer for Final Fantasy XVI. What are the odds that the same thing happened to the next writer that was Natsuko Ishikawa? But I'd say it makes sense given that her reputation on stories like Shadowbringers and Endwalker are extremely positive. And if we connect the dots to Ishikawa taking a more supervisory role within Final Fantasy XIV, Yoshi P and Koji Fox during a Final Fantasy XVI DLC interview saying back in October of 2023 that they were working on a new game already. And finally, Hiroshi Takai saying that he is also working on something different for 2025. All of these individuals are working within Creative Studio 3, within the same team. So, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Square Enix asked them to do Final Fantasy XVII, given that Creative Studio 1 is still busy with the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. I think it's just a very safe bet to go with a team that's highly acclaimed in what they do, with Final Fantasy XIV and also 16, and also just a team that really understands and loves Final Fantasy. Now, I do think that this new project that they could be working on is very likely to be Final Fantasy XVII, given that Square Enix is going through a company reconstruction currently, and their new goal is to consistently create more games for well-known franchises rather than new IPs that run the risk of flopping. The key word here being consistently. Final Fantasy as a franchise has kind of been slowing down and taking a very long time to create Final Fantasy games within a timely manner. This shakeup at Square Enix can pretty much help them to create a more consistent pipeline for games in the future, where development for these big titles for these major franchises can go a lot more smoother than what they have been doing for years on end. Now, if it is Creative Studio 3 working on Final Fantasy XVII, I do think that the director for this game could be the DLC director of Final Fantasy XVI, Takeo Kujiraoka. The reason being that he is a younger developer and someone who works at Creative Studio 3 who is very talented, with Yoshi P even stressing on numerous occasions that the series needs younger and new blood for the series. And if what Yoshi P is saying is true, that his next project isn't going to be the next Final Fantasy, then I do think that if it is Creative Studio 3 or a branch working on this next game, that Takeo Kujiraoka could be the director with Hiroshi Takai as the producer. Time will tell, but I do think that Final Fantasy XVII is in development. It is probably very early stages as of now. I do think that it is very likely that Square Enix has a team that is already working on it, and with all of the information that we have, that team is probably Creative Studio 3 once again. Anyways guys, tell me how you feel about all of this in the comments down below. Do you think we'll be able to see a new Nier game or a teaser in 2025 for its 15th anniversary? And with Hiroshi Takai's comment about working on something new, with Square Enix hunkering down on creating new games for already existing franchises, what are the odds that Hiroshi Takai, Natsuko Ishikawa, Yoshi P, and Koji Fox are all working on Final Fantasy XVII already? Be sure to let me know all your thoughts down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one.